He started here at the university just over 15 years ago. He has a Ph.D. in history, and some of his hobbies include photography. He's our Dean of our College of Arts and Sciences, Michael Fein. Michael, thank you so much for joining us on the Dean's Corner.
My pleasure.
So I just want to dive right in. I want to get to know you. That's what these are all about. So I'm going to knock on the door a little bit of your personal life. Tell me about you.
Sure. I grew up in southeastern Connecticut. My mother is a reading teacher. My father was trained as a physicist, worked for the Department of Defense, so I guess you could say I have education and bureaucracy in my blood. I met my wife in graduate school, and we've been in the Boston, Providence corridor ever since. We've got 2 children. I just sent my oldest off to college this fall, which is very exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And my youngest is a junior in high school.
So you say that your mother was a reading teacher. Now you're in education, of course. How did that really lend itself into what you wanted to do with your career?
Oh, well, you know, my mother was just a real inspiration. Even after she retired, she still loved to volunteer. Yeah. She would work in children's literacy issues. Nothing gave her greater joy than reading to her grandchildren. And so, you know, that just really set the stage for me for seeing the value of not just literacy, but education broadly.
Absolutely, and you talked about your oldest son going off to college. As an administrator, you have a couple of different, I guess, perspectives. So what was that like sending your first off to college?
Well, you know, my wife and I are both in higher ed, and we thought we had it all figured out. Definitely did not have it figured out. It was a challenge. It was so different to be on the other side of that. You know, managing children's stress, you know, our own anxieties about things. But, you know, one of the things that really stuck with me as I watched my child sort of go through the process of selecting a college, visiting colleges, getting settled into a new college, you never know when somebody is going to be in that right place at the right time to offer a kind word or a friendly gesture. And it was surprising to me that that is not as sort of broadly embedded in higher ed as you might think. And it's one of the things that really makes me proud to be at Johnson & Wales University, where we have this ingrained culture of care that's just in our DNA. It can make such an impact in the experience of a young person going off to college to have that sense of support.
Tell me what you studied, where you went, and about your own college experience.
So I studied history and political science at Columbia University in New York City. When I wasn't studying, my interests were in photography and in journalism. I worked for a stint as a photographer at our daily newspaper, at the Columbia Daily Spectator. It was
super cool.
Big experience for me. I was photo editor for a year. A funny story, this was in the early 90s. The mayor of New York City, David Dinkins, had retired, and he received a 5-year appointment as a professor of practice at Columbia University. It was this big moment, right? And I went out to cover it, but I made this rookie mistake of standing behind the mayor when the New York Times photographer snapped his shot. So you can see a very young me on the front page of the New York Times Metro section.
That's incredibly cool. It's a great conversation starter for parties. I was on the cover of the New York Times. Look at that. So after Columbia, after undergrad, you wanted to continue your education. So tell me where you went from there.
So I was accepted to Brandeis University into a doctoral program where I met my wife, dove into American history more deeply. I did my dissertation research on highways in New York State in the late 19th and early 20th century. It was really interesting for me here at Johnson & Wales to be looking out the window during the 195 teardown. Just like building highways, taking down highways are really important opportunities for societies, cities, municipalities to think about what they want their city to look like. Teardown movements can be opportunities for cultural regeneration, for new environmentally friendly green spaces, for innovation hubs like the Bowen Center. So it's it's really exciting to see that sort of thing unfold right here.
We are right here in the heart of the city where so much history has taken place. Is that a really kind of fascinating way for you to work?
Absolutely. Providence is a wonderful city and a historic city, and because of its own decisions around preservation. We still, we walk around and see some terrific buildings. But it's also a laboratory where students make a tremendous use of it. We have our political science students working at the state capitol. We have our media comm students working in various news and media industries that are right here in the city. But because we're also near the bay, we have our biology students working in the Narragansett Bay. And so it's a wonderful learning environment.
So after grad school, after getting your PhD, you went into teaching. Tell me about your path here.
I joined the university in 2007, arrived as an assistant professor of history. Well, at the time it was the School of Arts and Sciences. It was really a service wing to the rest of the university. We offered the general education curriculum, but we didn't offer any degrees of our own, and we wouldn't do so for another several years. In the mid-2010s, I had the opportunity to move into an administrative role, so I joined the dean's office as an assistant dean, really to help guide that growth and development. While I miss being in the classroom, one of the things that really excites me about being in an administrative position is it gives me the opportunity to help shape the conditions within which our faculty can create these tremendous experiences. Separately, we have biology and criminal justice and media communications and psychology, the list goes on, right? On one hand, you might see these as very, as distinct and quite different programs, but what holds them all together is what I've come to think of as our signature approach to the applied liberal arts. It combines a focus on transferable skills, a commitment to experiential education, and a strong layer of supports to ensure that students can explore and discover, stumble, pick themselves up, move forward, and really deliver on the goals that they have.
So I want to have a little bit of fun with you and play a little bit of a lightning round. Tell me favorite book or favorite movie.
Well, like with kids, I don't think it's safe to play favorites, but the last good book that I read was Colson Whitehead's Harlem Shuffle.
Okay.
Brilliant novelist.
What are you listening to or watching right now?
Let's see. Well, both of those go back to my kids. My youngest loves a good murder mystery. We watched a lot of Agatha Christie together and the like, so I'll watch any of that with him. In terms of what I'm listening to, whatever bubbles up from the basement. Last year it was all Bruce Springsteen. This year it's all Taylor Swift.
I support that. What do you do when you are not being a dean?
Well, I love photography. During COVID, I really got into birding. Obviously it was an outdoor activity, and I could tie my interests in photography to that.
What's a teaching moment that has stuck with you?
Gosh, there's a lot. But one thing I'll never forget. One of my first classes I was teaching at Johnson & Wales, and I had a student. I think I'd written something. It couldn't have been more than nice job, good work, something like that on an assignment that he had passed in. He came up to me after class and he said, "Nobody's ever written something positive to me before." And I was really stunned that somebody could arrive at college and have never had that experience. And I guess to go back to something I had said earlier, you never know when you're going to be in that right moment at the right time to make a difference in a student's life. And it's a responsibility I still take really seriously. I'm grateful to be able to lead a college with faculty who take that responsibility so seriously every day, knowing that they can have that sort of impact in students' lives.